All aboard! Well, hello, and today's victim is an ATHEARN GP9, and it's a New York Central livery, and I had to touch up the livery because the decals had peeled, so I touched that up before we started. Here it is on the turntable. You can see slight miscolorations in the banding where I've touched up, but it's not actually too bad. Not got too bad a colour match, and we're gonna retouch up the handrails with the yellow, and somebody had already had to do with a bit of detailing on this one. They've made some homemade handrails on the bonnet and rear, and a couple of other little bits and bobs. I've added some more to add some to it, and we're touching it up there. And on this one I've actually put lighting in. I've put LEDs in, and I've also used fibre optics. I've used 2mm fibre optic strips, and I used a 2mm drill just to widen the headlights out slightly to accept the 2mm fibre optic. And here I'm putting on some white oil paints to dull down the black. Nothing ever really is a true black. It's a bit too dark. In fact, some of these were actually grey. And I tried with a Q-tip and it wasn't all that good. So here's where visits to women's makeup stores become good. If you wait for a minute or two, it'll come on. But this has its use as well. And at this point I've still got the Q-tip. Or have I? Hang on, wait a minute, let's have a look. Is that the Q-tip? Yeah, I think it is. I think we're still on the Q-tip. Because I weren't fully getting on with it. It was at this point where I weren't fully getting on. So I changed to... I don't know why I didn't use them in first place, but we'll see them in a minute. They're dirt cheap as well to get. But I started using some women's makeup swabs. I think they use them for eyeshadow, applying eyeshadow. And stuff, so there they are. You get them cheap enough. I think you get a box of about 20, maybe more for £1 or something. And what I'm doing here, I'm cutting off the earthing strip. I'll leave a bit on to solder to for putting the new wiring on, but that's the old normal ATHEARN light bulb. I'm cutting it off because I don't really need that. As I said, I'm putting LEDs in. And another reason I decided to use fibre optics and LEDs was because of light bleed. So what I did, I didn't really get footage, but I'll do it on another one because it's on this one in many ways has only been a trial loco, but now I've got the technique off, I'll show it in another one. It's quite effective, but I used LEDs and fibre optics, and I wrapped them in heat shrink tubing, heated the tubing and clamped them together, and in one fell swoop it clamped what I'm doing here at the moment as well, in between what I'm saying there. I'm putting on Agrax Earthshade, so it makes the loco look dirty over the top of the white oil paint. I should really do it in acrylics, work out how to do acrylics better to tone it down. I have a bigger variety of greys in acrylics as well. Anyway, going off that, I put my LEDs and my fibre optics together, shrunk them in heat shrink tubing. And it really is a good way of doing it, and it counteracts any light bleed, because your LED's inside black shrink wrap tubing and your fibre optics are inside the black shrink wrap tubing. Works quite well. And here we're soldering new wires to it. I've done away with the ATHEARN way, and here I'm soldering an LED. I actually swapped these ones out. What you have to do on the positive side, which is the longer leg, you solder a resistor to it. And here, what I'm doing, I'm cleaning up the motor housing with mess, and I actually cleaned through the carbon brush tunnels. I actually used a pipe cleaner to clean them up, and here I'm cleaning up the carbon brushes, and I also sand the sides down as well, which I'll show in a second. I sand them down so they drop through smoother. There we are. You're not aiming to do a great deal of sanding, just knock the edges off them so they drop down smooth. You don't want them misshaped or anything, just knock the roughness off. And you want them to drop down the tubes smoothly. If you do too much, you may get enough room for the spring to go between the brush and the tunnel well. Anyway, here I'm cleaning the armature, and I also give it an oil, and there we have a bit of oil going on. There we are, we put the end of the motor on, checking it's spinning nice, and then the carbon brushes and springs will go in. And on ATHEARN motors, they clipped on with the motor clips, what my power clip is clipped to there. And here I'm just checking the motor for running quality, running nice and sweet. There, I've bent the tags down that make contact with the bottom of the loco frame. That's for earthing it. And in ATHERNs you have the motor blocks. There's a lot going on to get the motor in an ATHERN, because you have to put the motor in, put the drive shafts in, get it all right. But here what I'm doing, I'm rubbing off some of the Agrax earth shade, so it just looks like rain marks. I'm washing it off with IPA. And here I'm just doing a greeny brown, I think it's violet brown it's called. Something like that, brown violet. Just doing a quick brush of it on the roof. I probably overdid it, truth be known. Mind you, I've said I've overdone it. If I look back on this and later on the turntable where it's got really good lighting, it looks overdone, but where it's actually running on the railway, it doesn't. So, go figure. Anyway, at this point, let's have a look what I'm doing. Oh, I'm making windows. I'm making windows out of, I can't think what it's called now. It's one of the Microsoft company products. I did make the white lenses out of it originally, but I sorted that off. I did it at first, and the LEDs were behind them and it didn't give enough light, so I put the fibre optics in. I can't think of the name of that now, I wish I'd looked. And here I'm dry brushing some grey on, just to highlight edges and stuff. Highlight edges and make some worn areas. I may try that next time instead of the oils anyway. And I might get a softer... Well, I need some more dry brushing brushes, so I may well make a beeline to Games Workshop. They do a good range of dry brushes. And here I'm painting some Umbro. I'm painting some Umbro gunmetal to tone the wheels and actual bogie frames down, or trucks as you call them in America. Just tones them down a little bit from the reflective factory colour. I prefer using Umbro on metal rather than acrylics. I may well get some Umbro track colour for doing wheels. And here I'm clicking the bogie or truck frames on, depending what country you're from. And I'm using some black tack with them, because they were a little loose, so the black tack will hold them on better. And here I'm touching up the yellow again. I'm not making a perfect job of it because I want it to look skanky. And I'm also painting, I've not done them before, but on the New York Central livery, the handrails were yellow, so I'm doing the ones up. And touch the other side in. And anyway, what we up to it, or I'm painting the other sides. There we go, looking better. Doing some touching up on handrails again. There we go. And anyway, doing some rust marking. I've done it by various ways, like with paints and weathering powder to get the texture in here. I'm dry brushing a lighter colour on the bogey frames just to make them stand out better, make the details stand out better, and basically coming close to a finish now. And here we go. As I say, the actual rust on top and everything looks a bit bright on here because of the bright lights and that, but once on layout it looks okay, and I can tone it down if I want to. At the end of the day I can tone it down with a wash over the top. In fact, I may do that, to be honest. Give it a null oil wash or an Agrax Earthshade wash. Anyway, here we come. And those lights look cracking. I've actually used a warm white LED on both ends. And if you're actually sat on the layout, it really does light the way up as well. And you can draw down slow there as well. This should be really good if I ever decide to DCC the logo. They should be a lot better than they are now. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you've subscribed, it's much appreciated. If you haven't, press that subscribe button. It all helps the channel if you don't do that. Give us a thumbs up. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. And tatty pie, everyone. Tatty pie.